Hi, I'm Michelle Hurd, and I'm so excited to be here to support and to vote for Kamala Harris as President of these United States.
I am proudly voting for Kamala Harris for president for a multitude of reasons.
Chancellor Laurel endorses Kamala Harris for President of the United States. Kapla!
Why am I supporting Kamala Harris? Oh, so many, many reasons.
There are countless reasons why I am 100% in on Kamala Harris.
So much is at stake, and that's why I am supporting Kamala Harris for president this year for countless reasons.
This is the most important election in our lifetime.
I believe our government can function better and more fairly for more people.
And that is why I am offering my support for Kamala Harris as president.
I can think of 1,000 reasons why I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
We are in what could undoubtedly be one of the most important election seasons of our generation and for generations to come. And to be honest with you, I am incredibly excited and incredibly nervous all at the same time.
I'm voting for democracy. I'm voting for equal rights. I'm voting for affordable health care. I'm voting for bettering the world. I'm voting for Harris.
Welcome. We are so glad that you're here. I'm Marnie Moseman.
And I'm Kitty Swink.
And a couple of days after President Biden withdrew, "We love you, Joe," and endorsed Vice President Harris, we started thinking about what we could do to help.
We always do stuff. We write postcards, donate, attend and host fundraisers, stuff.
Yeah. And of course, we always vote. But this time, that didn't seem like enough. So we decided to gather a team who would understand the assignment. We thought about the women we knew, smart, powerful, commanding, like the characters on Star Trek, and the women who play them.
So we started calling our friends, and they called their friends. And now here we are. But the real power in Trek lies within the fandom, which is why we are here tonight with these amazing women to help elect the commanding, the powerful, and the compassionate Kamala Harris as President of the United States.
And I am thrilled to introduce our host for tonight, the powerful, bold, and definitely one of the coolest Trek fans, Stacey Abrams.
So cool.
Welcome to everyone who is joining us. We are so excited to be here, but no one's more excited than I am. For those of you who may not know, I may have some other jobs. I've done politics, I've done entrepreneurship, I've written books, I've done some stuff for democracy, but my major claim to fame is that I have an encyclopedic knowledge of Star Trek. And I am in the midst of the women who make Star Trek go. I have watched at least one episode of every single Trek. I can pretty much tell you the IMDb's of everyone on here, but most importantly, I know that these are women who are committed to justice. They believe in the fundamental premise of the entire Trek universe, which is that we all are entitled to live our best lives, to control our destinies. And there is no one who is better suited to lead this country than Vice President Kamala Harris and soon to be Vice President Tim Walz. And with a President Harris, we will have someone who sees not just everyone, but understands what all of us need. And so I'm excited to bring together this extraordinary panel of women who have lived stories, not just on screen, but lives of purpose. And I want them to talk to us today about why they are here and why it matters so much to them that we are in the middle of an election that can change our future. And to start, I'm going to call on the inimitable and extraordinary Michelle Hurd. Michelle, thank you so much. I would love for you to kick us off by telling everyone listening why this election matters so much to you.
Thank you so much, Stacey, and I'm honored to be here with you as well as my sisters here from my Star Trek family. This is such an important election. Lives depend on it. I'm going to just speak on this one issue about women's reproductive health. I have a friend who had 2 late-term abortions, one at 5.5 months and one at 7.5 months. She didn't want to have that happen. She found out later that her and her husband in the medical books, there's like one page. Chromosomally, they are not capable of creating a sustainable baby. Their babies were developing without organs, some with organs on the outside of their bodies. There was no way that these children would live outside that body. And their passing would absolutely endanger my friend's life. She had to travel to different states to find the doctor who would perform the procedure. She was capable of doing that. There are so many women who are not capable of doing that. I know in my the soul of my body that Kamala Harris will fight for women's right over autonomy of our bodies. She will codify into law Roe versus Wade, which should have happened decades ago. It will happen now with her. Selfishly, as a proud biracial child, oops, can't see it. There's my mama, there's my papa, my beautiful dark-skinned father, my beautiful fair mama. To see a biracial woman in that seat, it makes a difference to see yourselves represented in this world. When Obama won, I leaned over to my sister because I remember growing up in school and having the pictures of the presidents on the ceiling, on the top part of the classrooms, which quite literally was like a ceiling, quite literally at the top. They looked around and I'm, for my entire life, all you saw was white men. And I leaned into my sister and I said, Adrian, our two brown boys will now see themselves breaking that ceiling. For us in Star Trek world, my father knew that it was important for his three brown girls to see themselves represented. So we would watch the reruns of Star Trek, the original series, and Nichelle Nichols seeing Uhura on that bridge, she gave us all, whether it was conscious or unconscious, the permission to be here, to be bold, to be brave, and use our voice. Well, you guys, guess what? Kamala Harris is our Uhura. She is going to give us all. Thank you. You know it's true. She is going to give people, children, so many people, the permission to be here, to be bold, to use their voices, to know that anything is possible, that job is in my grasp. I'm voting for her because she is going to give us a future. She's going to give women a future. I'm just going to talk on that, but literally there's so many other issues. The fact that she's going to focus on small businesses, which are the backbone of our country. She's going to help with first-time owners, which is what literally builds generational wealth, which has systemically been denied by people of color. There are so many things about Kamala Harris that beckons us to usher her into the White House. I'm proud to back her. I look forward to my Trekkie family. I know you guys out there hear it because you know she, just like all of us, believe in the hope of a better tomorrow. And Kamala and Tim Walz have absolutely brought that hope, that joy, that possibility back into this election. Thank you, Stacey, for asking.
Thank you, Michelle. Denise, you have a story to tell as well. Tell us why you are here today and why this election matters.
Well, I mean, I think, piggybacking on what the beautiful Michelle just shared with us. First of all, I love that Kamala is our new Uhura.
Right?
That is like, okay, we got to print that. That's going to print right away. So here's the thing. The fact that I am talking about reproductive rights at this point in time is offensive and ludicrous and dangerous. My particular story, I will share a personal tale. In 1997, I became pregnant with my first child. I was recently married. My husband and I were thrilled, excited. We had only wanted this for so long. The first trimester was a breeze, healthy, got through that. And so now it's time to celebrate, tell friends, share in this blessing and the good news. And fourth month checkup was fine. And at the fifth month, I went in for my exam and the baby had no heartbeat. And I remember my one and only doctor, my gynecologist, OBGYN for my entire life, said to me, the fetus, the baby is not viable. I'll never forget that term. The fetus is not viable. So what I need to concentrate on is you, is your health. You need to survive this, and you will go on to try again. Okay. This is a late term procedure. And she said, I am not equipped to do this. But there is a phenomenal doctor, an incredible doctor that I trust and can do this and will save you. If I didn't do it, I ran the risk of severe infection, hemorrhaging, and my fertility, my future fertility. The fetus needed to be extracted. She couldn't do it, but this incredible doctor could. However, this is 1997, and Roe is on the books in the bluest of bluest states, California. However, I could not receive the name of this doctor or his address. I couldn't phone for an appointment because his life was being so threatened that he had to go undercover. And I'm getting this information in the doctor's office and trying to process the grief of losing a child. And now, what are you telling me? I have to secretly go and have a late term procedure, an abortion, to extract a child that was no longer alive so that I would live. She said, listen to me. Go home, and you have to have this within the next 48 hours. So I will send you the details. I'm going to call him. I'm going to set this up for you. I can't give you his name or number yet, but I will get back to you in the next 24 hours. My husband came, got me. I was in a state of shock and grief. So now we had to pivot. This had to happen to save my life. Within that day, my doctor called and said, you will go the next day, and here's the address and here's the doctor's number, but you must not tell anyone. You must not share this news. You can't, don't tell anyone, just you and your husband Ken go to this appointment and he will take care of you. So in about 2 days went by, and my husband Ken drove me out to the clinic. The clinic looked, under the cover of night, mind you, the clinic looked like an abandoned Mexican restaurant on a highway, off a highway. There was no signs of a medical facility. There was no lights. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? What is going to happen? And I know my doctor wouldn't steer me wrong, but it was so covert and so mysterious and so secretive. And we went in, and of course, once we went into the clinic, we were greeted with such warmth and care and concern. And it was a beautiful clinic, but it couldn't be advertised as a clinic. And I had this procedure, and that doctor, I will never forget the care and kindness he showed me, and promised that I would be a mother. And to his credit, a year later, I gave birth to a very beautiful, healthy boy. Now, none of that would have been possible had I not gotten the care, the health care. Abortion care is health care. There's no difference. And this was in California. So you can't take anything for granted. Kamala Harris promises to restore reproductive health in this country, mandate it. So we never have to worry about this again. I never thought I would have to worry about this again. It's astounding. She is the only one. She promises she is the president for now. There is no question. There is no question. We must make this happen.
Denise, thank you so much. Tiffany, I know that the fight for rights, not only the right to control your body and control your health care, but the fight for survival is key to your reason for voting. Can you talk about why Kamala Harris is the president for this moment?
Absolutely. And thank you. And Denise and Michelle, those stories, too many women have had similar ones, and I'm sorry and I'm grateful everyone's okay. In 2019, my daughter was a freshman in high school and excited to go to school like everyone else for the school dances and to argue with her best friend about Spanish tests. And that morning, I got a text that no parent, no person, no family member wants to get, that there had been a shooting at our daughter's high school. And they were hiding, waiting for care from paramedics and police because my daughter was shot in the stomach with a .45 caliber ghost gun. And she was shot by a boy none of them knew, who came to school with his father's unsecured firearm, and shot and wounded 3 children, including my daughter, killed 2 others, one being my daughter's best friend, 14-year-old Dominic, and turned the gun on himself. This is a story now that I'm realized the more we're in this movement that it's not that unique anymore. There are so many firearms in the United States, so many unsecured firearms, that we're finding more and more people that have stories similar to us. And if you're listening on this right now, you are 1 degree away from gun violence touching your life if you know us. But what we have seen with Kamala Harris and the previous administration that she's a part of is that they are the most survivor-centered administration ever. She now leads the Office of Gun Violence Prevention at the White House. The first ever Senate confirmed ATF director has been confirmed under her and President Biden's control. They have the most executive orders and actions to end and combat gun violence of all time. They passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. So where I tell you this story is grim, there's also so much hope, because with future President Kamala Harris, she knows that just sitting back and doing nothing is not the answer. The answer is not just more locks on doors. The answer is increased background checks and funding for community violence intervention and prevention, which this has been the only administration ever to historically add research to the game, which has been in the past underfunded. And they're doing absolutely everything in their power to lessen gun violence and lessen stories like mine and stories like you hear in other communities and at other schools around the country. They know that gun violence in this country needs more than just stronger locks. We need prevention. And I think the choice for me and our family is clear. Kamala Harris, she stated she's a responsible gun owner, and she knows that sitting by doing nothing is 100% not the answer, because we all know as a community, no one wants to send their children, their loved ones. You don't want to go to church or the grocery store or a concert and be afraid anymore. And there's stuff we can do. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, 100%, I have faith they will do it.
Thank you. Our prayers continue to go to the families, not only yours, but those that every day grapple with this issue. And Mary, we know that you are brought to this conversation by another set of rights that are imperiled. Can you talk about why Kamala Harris is your president?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just so honored to be here, hear everyone's stories so far. And gosh, President of Earth, Stacey Abrams. I am just honored, Chakuvmuch, as we would say in Klingon. I am, yes, very honored to be here to speak on why there is no question in my mind why Kamala Harris is my candidate. I'm speaking personally, yes, as a queer woman, a lot of my rights are at stake in this election, and I don't even want to mention her opponent, but if you do a quick Google on the things that he has done and said against the LGBTQ community throughout his career, it's just a Google away. It's draconian, it's dangerous. Project 2025, what it says about gender identity and gender expression, that's all I'm going to say on the negative side. Look it up. What I want to celebrate is that Kamala has been a lifelong ally and advocate for the queer community. She has put so much action for the queer community. And there's so many different things I wanted to highlight, so many moments and so many different things that she's done in her career. So I'm going to try and consolidate it a bit. But one is back in 2004, as DA of San Francisco, she spent her Valentine's Day officiating same-sex marriages. And that was 2004. Again, compared to what the other guy was doing during that time. You don't need to. When she was Attorney General, she was opposing Prop 8 was a huge part of her campaign. And when she became Attorney General, she worked in and succeeded in striking down Prop 8 and performed, again, another gay marriage, one of the first post-Prop 8 gay marriages between two awesome women, Chris Perry and Sandy Steer. Again, ally and advocate, a vocal and verbal advocate for our community. Again, I have a few notes, and I'm just like, I'm having to scroll through some because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. But just look up, she would led efforts to abolish the gay and transgender panic defense in California. She's done so much to help bring care and solutions around HIV/AIDS, especially how it affects the BIPOC and trans community. She's an advocate again for healthcare across the board and continues to listen and grow when it comes to how she can best, and we can all help support the queer community in that regard. She's also, again, huge proponent of queer marriage, and was a huge part of in her time in the Senate, which I also, during her time in the Senate, this is fun, I got to do lots of fun research, but was rated, got 100% rating consistently from Human Rights Campaign on their scorecard. So I think that bodes pretty well. Outside of that, again, she was a huge part of what we finally have in the Marriage Act, the Respect for Marriage Act in December 2022, which is far too recent of a time for that to be put into federal law. And again, she continues to be an incredible outspoken ally, the sequined rainbow jacket being one of the many great parts of that. And I really hope I can find a jacket that cool someday. And the one other thing, speaking to the representation that, Michelle was speaking to and across the board, we know that's to be so true in Star Trek and beyond. And I know that she's someone who will continue to not only celebrate and support, but put people in positions of power who are a part of our community and who are strong allies. Of course, Governor Walz being a shining example of an incredible LGBTQ ally who she has picked for vice president. And that to me was where I kind of wanted to round out my big triumphant LGBTQ support for Kamala Harris, because I do think representation and who you surround yourself with is a huge part of what we're voting for. And I know that she's going to continue to surround herself with advocates and allies and members of our community so that we can protect our rights even more and listen and grow and learn what the community needs, because it's ever growing and ever changing. And I just know that she's someone who, as she has said in her campaign, is fighting for the future. And I know that the future she envisions includes the entire queer community.
Thank you. Yatide, we have in Vice President Harris, soon to be President Harris, the daughter of both Jamaican and Indian immigrants. And I know that you understand why her presence, much like Michelle pointing to that photo, demonstrates you can talk about why having her in the White House sitting behind that desk is so important.
I mean, first off, I have to say I am so honored to be here with all of you. And I want to thank you for everything that you have done and that you continue to do. Also, Mary is right. The president of Earth really killed it. But yes, if you couldn't tell by the name, Yatide, I was born in Nigeria. And that is actually where my love of Star Trek started as a young girl watching Star Trek Next Generation, and where I started to dream. As my father always said, and what I saw mirrored back on this show, no one person can be perfect, but a team can be. And that was something that always stayed with me and affected my entire worldview. And it also made me want to get involved with storytelling. And then I got to come to the United States and I got to pursue that dream. I got to live it even more by playing a civil rights lawyer in space on Star Trek. And I got to then further add to my communities. And it's not that long ago that I became naturalized, that I became a United States citizen. And I chose to do that because I wanted to contribute to the space that have given me so much. And my story is not so different from so many other people who come here wanting to contribute to this society, wanting to create a better life for themselves and others coming up behind them, like Vice President Harris's parents and what they brought forth and created for her. And if anyone doesn't understand being a third culture kid, then sometimes your accent can change depending on who you are talking to. Anyways. But she understands a lot of the challenges. Yes, that there are a lot of cracks in the foundation. That there are things that are that do need to be addressed. With her incredible background and her long storied career, she is the kind of person that can address these issues. She is also someone willing to come across the aisle and create bipartisan deals that would make a large difference. And she is someone that is working towards creating that perfect team, understanding the power of a diversity of mind and thought and ways of being. So as an immigrant, I was very troubled in these vice presidential debates. I don't want to focus on the negative. I hear you, Mary. But the fact that the question of whether young children who are born here and therefore citizens should be separated from their parents, so that couldn't be answered. That was deeply, deeply troubling. And we know with Vice President, soon to be future president, with all of the work that she's doing and all of that she's addressing, that she's looking to do things like keep families together and get things properly funded so there's proper processing and understanding that there's a lot that needs to be done. And what I was very hopeful about was when Wall said he wanted to keep the humanity of how we interact with each other. That she's looking so deeply important. And I just saw another incredible face here. So I will wrap this up with saying the thing about, I like what you said, Michelle, about the fact that she is our new Uhura. She also is, and I just saw coming at an inflection point here. So and I think I'm getting a little bit of reverb from someone about.
It's from Corey. He brings the world with him when he shows up.
Oh, you brought the world with you. Understood. But she also mirrors those values that we look to, that I look to in Star Trek. The values that say that we can grow up, that we can do better, that we can evolve. And that is why she's my president.
Thank you. Nana, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to pitch it to Senator Booker, who will then make certain that we will close with you, but want to acknowledge, introduce, and bring on my fellow Trekkie, Senator Cory Booker.
I'm Avery Brooks. I don't know what you're talking about. I led Deep Space Nine. Stacey Abrams is usually so specific and perfectly on point. I don't know who this Cory Booker guy is, but Avery Brooks in the flesh. No, I cannot tell you when Stacey reached out to me. First of all, I don't know if there's a bigger Stacey Abrams fan outside of Georgia than me. She is really a truly extraordinary soul, luminescent being who has inspired so many, who has sustained so many, who has helped heal so many, activate so many, engage so many, and is continuing to do the work and the labors. And when she invited me to be on with the Women of Star Trek, I immediately thought of Nichelle Nichols and the impact she had on my life and my father's life. What she did, my dad, I still remember him sitting me down and making me watch the original series, because for him, as a guy who grew up in such a viciously segregated world, it was this boldly optimistic, hopeful place for the future. And Star Trek has become a part of my life, and in many ways, a refuge for me, to be inspired, to be lifted, to be encouraged. And the moral imagination of artists like the incredible women that we have here. We know every great movement in America has been sustained and empowered by those artists who not only use their gifts as artists, but also who find ways to also be activists as well. So the fact that I'm on with this incredible community, this gathering of people who I so admire, and I may have a crush on a number of the women here. This is so meaningful to me, and I know that this is, let's call it a party with a purpose. We're trying to raise money here, and Stacey, if you'll allow me, just to share one little vignette about our hopefully soon-to-be president, but our current vice president. And when Stacey was in my office recently, I felt like we both came for a mutual counseling session. Obviously, we have our professional jobs, but like I think we took turns just finding refuge in each other's spirit. But one of my favorite moments, we talked about another luminescent woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and the day of her vote on the Senate floor, I was pacing the Senate floor because we were waiting for one senator to vote. And I was really working hard during this time. 99 senators had voted. We were one vote away from just getting this incredible woman on the bench. And I was trying very hard not to cry. And the reason why I was trying hard was because my staff will only allow me to have one public cry a month. Any more than that, they say, is just, you're way overboard, Corey. You've got to hold it together. And I already met my quota for that month. And at that point, Reverend Warnock, another Georgian, comes over to me and says, "Brother Booker, looks like you're struggling here. You need some prayer?" And I said, I laughed at that moment. But a dutiful staffer runs over to the two of us and says, fellas, gentlemen, excuse me, senators, the presiding officer would like to see you. And at that point, Reverend Warnock and I turned around and walked right to the presiding officer, who happened to be Vice President Kamala Harris. And if you know the Senate, those I know there's a lot, only nerds are probably on this watching right now, but for those political nerds who watch C-SPAN, all 14 of you in the nation, you know that the presiding officer is always the highest seated person. And when people go to speak to the presiding officer, they have to sort of kneel down because you can't stand up above them. And so just picture this on the Senate floor. Senator Warnock and myself are sort of kneeling before the altar of Kamala Harris. And the vice president says, "Fellas, this is a really historic moment." And I know she was talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, but I'm thinking to myself, is this history? The first time 3 Black people have ever gotten together on the Senate floor? and so she goes, I really want the two of you to mark this moment. I think you guys should do something special. Why don't you write a letter to a little girl somewhere and tell them what it was like to be at this moment of history? And we were both affected by that. We thought it was a good idea, but her, almost as if she wanted to make sure we absolutely did what she said, she opened up her binder there with her schedule and her briefing documents. And in the back of it, there was 2 pieces of paper, and she pulled them out, and they happened to be 2 of her pieces of her blank stationery. Impressive, with the embossed vice presidential seal on it and her name. And she hands them over to us and says, "Gentlemen, why don't you use these pieces of paper to write your letter to that little girl?" And at that point, Warnock had to put his hand on me and said, "Don't you cry, Booker, don't you cry." and so Warnock, being this disciplined, dutiful senator, goes right back to his desk and writes this most beautiful letter to his 5-year-old little girl. And it's gorgeous. I've heard him read it. It's amazing. I happen to be what J.D. Vance calls those childless cat people. And I think we're perfect. And so I'm sort of frozen by this. I feel almost like I was in college again, and I got some assignment and procrastination neatly set in. The paper felt so weighty, and I didn't write the letter right there at my Senate desk. The last senator came in, voted, a week passes, 2 weeks pass, and I'm still holding on to this letter this blank piece of stationery, thinking so much about what am I going to write on this vice presidential stationery to some little girl that I might know. And then I had one of those mornings that I know we've all had, where you wake up a little bit before your alarm goes off and you're lying in bed and you have these profound thoughts. And suddenly it hit me that what Kamala Harris was asking of me, what this moment in history is asking for all of us, is to write our letter, not literally, but metaphorically. We are all here because our ancestors wrote their letters. Sometimes they used tears instead of ink, or sweat or blood. But people who made their lives, the work they did spoke for them. The sacrifices, the struggle, the wretched indignities endured, but yet overcome. The folks who were before us, like Nichelle Nichols, whose lives were the letters that they wrote, the love letters that they wrote. And so here we are in this final month where democracy is in the balance. And we have to choose what letter, what paragraph, what sentence are we going to write over these next 30 days? And it's going to be by what we do. Have we given the best measure of our devotion to the ideals, the hopes, the dreams, the principles that we stand for? What will we do for reproductive rights? What will we do for LGBTQ rights? What will we do to secure for this democracy the hope that so many people still urgently need? And so I just hope tonight that in this gathering of extraordinary people that has me so encouraged. My staff told me, behave yourself when you're on there. Don't fanboy out too much. But I want to thank these extraordinary women for coming together and writing their letters with what they're doing and how they're dedicating themselves. And I'm hoping that all the people watching tonight will do something. Don't just witness this moment, be a part of it. Help us tonight to raise a good measure of support and commitment to a campaign that I hate to tell everybody this, it's still a toss-up. Vice President Harris knows that she's the underdog. And I know from sitting in classified bunkers that she's not only dealing with American forces. You have literally warehouses in Russia full of all these folks who are finding creative ways to go on the internet and spread disinformation and do all kinds of things. There's so many dark forces allied against her. And what she needs is people of light, not just the ones that I'm looking at so adoringly right now, but it needs each and every one of you, because that's what turns history. So I am so grateful to be in a community of people who are such light workers. And I hope that everybody watching tonight will commit themselves to doing that and to writing a letter, so that come November 5th, the last two letters of this paragraph that we write, the last few words are just, we won, baby, we won.
Thank you, Senator. And I'm going to turn it over to Nana Visitor, the author of Star Trek, Open a Channel, the Women of Star Trek, to take us out of here.
Oh boy, thank you, Stacey. I learned a lot writing that book, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go really fast because I know we're limited. I just want to tell you some facts, some recent history, why we cannot go back. So it was 1974 that a woman could actually have a credit card without having her husband co-sign it. In the 80s, hysteria was finally removed from medical books as a diagnosis for women. In the 80s also, they did a study on the effects of obesity on breast cancer. Every single participant was a man, because they thought that their hormones were easier and cheaper to work with. IBS symptoms, this is now. If a man goes in with them, most likely he will get a scan. If a woman does, she will get tranquilizers and talks about how to rearrange her life. We do not need a leader who is going to make women happy. We need a woman like Kamala Harris. We need, in fact, Kamala Harris to give us a seat at a diverse table. screenwriter Melinda Snodgrass told me, I don't need a man to open the door for me. Just let me walk through it. I talked to a young Army chaplain, and she told me that Star Trek taught her three things. And she was an incredible young woman. She said, Star Trek taught me to have hope, to have courage, and to realize we are not alone. And that's what we all must do tonight, and unite behind Kamala Harris. Thank you.
You are amazing. You all are amazing. Thank you, Senator Booker. Thank you to this extraordinary panel for sharing personal stories that are profoundly important to everyone watching. And just thank you all for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you. And everybody donate, please. Donate. And remember, vote up and down the ballot. Up and down the ballot.
Absolutely.
Donate.
We're already at $1,555. So let's exceed that number. Let's send them off as the captain of Discovery would say, let's fly. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hurd, and I'm so excited to be here to support and to vote for Kamala Harris as President of these United States.
I am proudly voting for Kamala Harris for president for a multitude of reasons.
Chancellor Laurel endorses Kamala Harris for President of the United States. Kapla!
Why am I supporting Kamala Harris? Oh, so many, many reasons.
There are countless reasons why I am 100% in on Kamala Harris.
So much is at stake, and that's why I am supporting Kamala Harris for president this year for countless reasons.
This is the most important election in our lifetime.
I believe our government can function better and more fairly for more people.
And that is why I am offering my support for Kamala Harris as president.
I can think of 1,000 reasons why I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
We are in what could undoubtedly be one of the most important election seasons of our generation and for generations to come. And to be honest with you, I am incredibly excited and incredibly nervous all at the same time.
I'm voting for democracy. I'm voting for equal rights. I'm voting for affordable health care. I'm voting for bettering the world. I'm voting for Harris.
Let's talk about the economy. One of Harris's highest priorities is to support and strengthen the middle class. Us.
She's going to focus on helping small businesses succeed, which is the backbone of our country. She's going to help people with tax credits for first-time homeowners, which helps create generational wealth, which is so important, especially for people of color.
And she's committed to the ability of all of us to make a decent living in an economy of opportunity.
She's going to focus on inflation so that we can put food on our tables.
People are really worried about the price of groceries, and if you've been paying attention, you know that the CEO of Albertsons admitted in a congressional hearing to price gouging, to charging us more because you could.
She has pledged bans on price gouging to help target inflation.
So the fact that Kamala Harris is ready and willing to do a federal price gouging bill, which, by the way, when she mentioned, suddenly prices started dropping.
President Donald Trump, in his 4 years, raised the deficit more than any president in the history of the United States. And most economists, whether on the left or the right, the vast majority of them believe that his tariff plan will cost the average American family of four between $2,600 and $4,000 a year. That's not good.
Let's talk jobs. In the Biden-Harris administration, there has been an increase of almost 16 million jobs. That's 10 million more than under Trump. And according to data tracked since 1939, it is the fastest job growth at any point of any president in all of American history.
I'm voting for Harris on the economy, and I'm voting for Harris on decency. Thanks. Go vote.
Like you, I'm here because of the importance of this election. But I'm not just saying that as an actor. I'm saying it as a parent. Because in 2019, I got a call that no parent should ever get. That our daughter was hiding in her classroom, awaiting life-saving treatment after being shot by a .45 caliber ghost gun.
Guns are the #1 killer of our children, and it's completely unnecessary. Kamala Harris has been part, as vice president, has been part of the most pro-gun safety administration in decades.
I really respect the fact that Harris and Walz are gun owners who also believe in comprehensive gun control.
Her policy platform includes a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Nobody needs those. And it also includes a requirement for universal background checks. Common sense.
Hi, Star Trek world. Thanks for being here. I want you to know that I've carried my passport every day since Trump came down the escalator and made those blatantly racist comments about Mexicans. I began to fear that I could be targeted for deportation. Crazy, right? But yeah, I am a Latina and I wasn't born here. And I'm grateful for the reprieve that President Biden has given us. However, here we are again. I recently had to urge one of my sisters to please update her passport in the event that he should win and we need to seek asylum somewhere else. We need to take Trump's intentions on massive deportations seriously. I cannot even imagine how the DACA recipients and dreamers feel right at this moment and have been feeling for years, as well as so many others from so many different backgrounds, cultures, and races in our country right now. I can tell you this. In my family, there are a lot of Cuban exiles. And Cubans, we know fascism when we hear it, and it's loud right now. It can happen here. And I'm going to tell you this right now. We are not going back. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gase McFadden, and I marched in the late 60s, and I was striking against the war in Vietnam. We had a soldier in sanctuary on campus. We had Angela Davis there. There was a Black Studies program, and I learned so much about our history in America that I had never been taught when I was in school in Ohio, which, by the way, there were 4 students at Kent State, which is where I grew up, a few minutes from there, who had been killed protesting, which was the same thing I was doing at the time. Our Bodies Ourselves had just come out, and I was stunned at how much I did not know as a woman about myself because I had never been sort of allowed. It just wasn't available. I stopped and thought, okay, we can do this. I voted for McGovern. I thought it was all going to change, but it didn't. We got Nixon, but the wheel of time moves slowly. We did get Roe versus Wade eventually, which was great. We didn't have to wear girdles anymore, which was great. But then the ERA amendment, which I so wanted, was voted down. That was a heartbreak. Now, it's been a long time. I've been working to change our history, certainly as women. It is time for a female president. It is time for that we are treated equally. It is time that we have reproductive health available, that women have sovereignty over our own bodies.
Yes.
I have waited a long time for a candidate as great as Kamala Harris. Please support her. Please participate. Please think, what does democracy mean to you? Because I am terrified of losing it. And I believe we are on a precipice. It is a very important election. I know what it means to me, democracy, and I believe in Kamala and Tim. I want to move forward, and I won't go back.
Hi, I'm Denise Okuda. As a girl, I was inspired by Star Trek's vision of a bolder, better world, a wondrous future where we work together, where we are kind to each other, and where we have the courage to do the right thing. As an adult, I am inspired by leaders who have the guts to fight for a better tomorrow. That's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Hi, I'm Rosalind Chow, and years ago as Keiko, I gave birth on TNG. But in real life, I was very grateful that my doctor and I had the right to choose my health care when I had a miscarriage and emergency DNC before my second child. I shudder to imagine the trauma and danger of not having that choice. And my wonderful daughter, born a year after my miscarriage, would not be here today if politicians had made that healthcare choice instead of my doctor. I'm voting for Kamala because I want to have choice over my body.
Adele Simmons.
Hello. My name is Adele Simmons, and 55 years ago, a friend of mine had an abortion atop a table by a stranger at night in a scary part of town. I was her wingman. It was awful. Now we have to make sure that Kamala Harris doesn't allow Trump-Vance policies to push women back atop tabletops. Reproductive rights are human rights.
Eliza Goodman.
Hi, I'm Elisa Goodman. I'm a recent breast cancer survivor, and my sister has pre-existing conditions. And I know that Trump and Vance want to slash Medicare and create high-risk pools, which would make people like us pay skyrocketing costs. I know that Kamala Harris supports the ACA, which stops insurers from dumping people like us. And I know she'll continue to lower drug prices. And that's why I'm voting for Harris-Walz. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Aldrich. And as a member of the middle class, I believe that we need a president who will champion us. And we also need someone who will protect women's rights. And that is why I support Kamala Harris for president.
Hi, I'm Martha Hackett. Climate change is here and it is not going anywhere. There is only one major political party that's even discussing it. So if you care about clean air and clean water and you want to put a cap on the rising temperature of our planet while creating jobs and industries and technologies while we're at it, innovative ones, then you need to vote Democratic up and down the ticket because there really is no other choice.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Chakowski. I want a president who takes on corporate price gouging because prices on eggs shouldn't be about helping to raise CEO bonuses. I want a president who sees humanity in the entire population and fights for all of them, not just the ones who vote for them.
Hi, I'm Linda Park, and as a single mom who values fairness and justice, I trust a prosecutor from a middle class Bay Area family like myself who understands the struggles of providing for your family over someone who grew up a billionaire, never knew the reality of budgeting, and proven with his actions that he will make deals with Big Pharma, Wall Street, foreign autocrats to benefit himself over everyday Americans. And that is why I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Hey there, Elizabeth Dennehy. Not only is Kamala Harris brilliant, overqualified, a fierce and empathetic leader like a certain admiral we all know, she's the only candidate with the expertise to represent our country with dignity on the global stage. Remember how embarrassing it was of having the former president out there in the world. Kamala Harris perfectly represents our unique spirit and our future. She's a stateswoman, a human, a public servant who has always been for the people.
Hi, I'm Terry Farrell. When I was a kid, I was on the government assisted lunch program for a while. I do remember being teased, but I had hot lunch and I liked the food. Children all need a level playing field when it comes to being fed, getting a basic education, and getting basic medical care. Yes, breakfast and lunch give kids a chance to excel. Chase Masterson, bring us home.
Thank you, Terry. Hi, I'm Chase Masterson, and in 2013, I founded a national mental health organization for children, teens, and parents, and one of our focuses is to end bullying in all its forms, because mentally healthy people do not bully. Donald Trump is not mentally healthy. Research shows that bullying in schools increased under his presidency. And undecided voters, especially those who have daughters, let's not forget his conviction for sexual assault. There's so much more to say. But for November 5th, we have the unique opportunity to use our voices kindly and with wisdom. Remember, no one's mind or heart was ever changed by insulting them. We have the opportunity to use our votes to become heroes over the infections of cruelty, abuse, and injustice. In Kamala Harris's own words, we have the unique opportunity to show each other and the world who we are and what we stand for: freedom, opportunity, compassion, dignity, fairness, and endless possibilities.
She's going to fight to make sure that women have autonomy over our bodies and codify Roe v. Wade into law, which should have happened decades ago.
For over 50 years, I have believed in, have been passionate about, and have fought for a woman's right to choose.
Top of mind is women's health care, bodily autonomy.
I'm a mom, and raising a teenage daughter and watching her grow up with fewer rights than I've had is completely unacceptable.
Currently, my mom had more reproductive rights than I do, and I'm a millennial.
Whom are you going to trust to make medical decisions? Women and their doctors, or the government? And there's only one candidate, Kamala Harris, who can assure us that no more women have to die because they're denied treatment from a miscarriage or access to a safe and legal abortion.
When I was interviewing women for my book, I would ask them one question: how did they deal with misogyny and unfairness in their lives? And so many of them, from different walks of life, different ages, so many of them said the same phrase: that's just the way it was.
Characters that Gene Roddenberry conceived of and dreamed built the table. We didn't wait around to be invited to the table. And that's what Kamala brings to us.
Hey, I am Jerry Ryan, and I want to thank you all for being here with us and ask you to please, please, please go to womenoftrek-donate and give whatever you can. And now we are back with these amazing women for a discussion about getting out the vote. And I think we can all agree that it has never been more important than it is this year to get involved. And Stacey, you are the all-time goddess of voter activation. So you're the perfect person to guide us through this. And I would love to ask you to share some of your wisdom and what you've learned through your years of doing this.
Well, first of all, it is my incredible honor to be here with each of you and to be able to talk about how we use this moment, not only to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States, but how we vote up and down the ballot, because she needs help. One of the challenges we face in this country today is that people stop at the top. And while the top is amazing, it's like only getting the cherry and not doing anything else about the ice cream. So we need the whole sundae. We need all of it. And the way we do that is three things. First, we need to verify that you are registered. Particularly in states, there have been 30 states that have made it harder to vote since the 2020 election. And so even if you think you're in a safe place, even if you think you know you're ready, verify that you are on the rolls. And that means go to iwillvote.com, click on check if I'm registered, look for your state, and then when your state comes up, click check if I'm registered, and it will give you all the information you need. So one, verify that you are registered to vote. The second thing I need you to do is make a plan to vote. Make a plan that tells you not just that you're going to vote, but pick the day, pick the time, figure out how you're going to get there. We have the best laid plans. And then 2 days later, we were like, what happened? So make a plan to vote. So verify that you're registered, make a plan to vote. And then third, never vote alone. Everyone who is watching this, everyone who is within the sound of any of these extraordinary women's voices, you know that it's not just that you're voting for yourself, you're voting for people who do not believe that voting works, because they've lived lives that have been affected by bad decision makers. And they may not believe it can work, but the whole nature of Star Trek is that we confront what is wrong and we make it right. And one of the ways we make it right is by refusing to vote alone. And so I'm asking you to find 5 friends, not the 5 you know are going to go anyway, but the 5 that need you to help them along. The 5 who are the crew members who get left behind and never show up until we go and find them. So go find those 5 and wherever they live, whatever they want, help them make a plan to vote and get them out there. And with that in mind, I'm going to kick it over to you, Jerry Ryan, to talk about why you think voting is so important in this election and how you think we'll win.
Listen, I mean, there are a million reasons why this is important, but this year in particular, because this, and it sounds crazy, but this could potentially be the last election we actually get if we don't do it right. If Trump gets back in, he's not leaving. He's not going. He didn't want to go last time. And it's only because they were disorganized and the insurrection failed. They've had 4 years to build back up their plans and things like that. So we have got to get involved and we have to do the work. And to go back to what you said, Stacey, about verifying your voter registration, I am in a bright blue state. I'm in California. I have voted in every election since 2016, no problem. And then this year for our primary, I was waiting for my, the stuff that they mail you about the election coming up and who all the candidates are and what all the ballot initiatives and things. And I wasn't getting anything in the mail and it wasn't coming and my ballot wasn't coming. And so now we're a couple of days out from election day and it's really strange. So I went online to check my registration and my registration had randomly out of the blue been changed to some bizarre address that I've never been to or heard from. And that was it. So even if I've been voting in every election, which I have, it still got screwed up. And that's in a blue state. So you can imagine the shenanigans that are going on in some of the red states where they are actively purging voter rolls. So it is crucial, even if you're positive that you're registered and you've been voting, check it again and check it again before the deadline in your state and make sure that you are registered and that everyone you know is registered and that you vote, please.
Thank you. Ashley, you are going to be the voice of a generation and make certain that you tell everyone who discovered Trek through Lower Decks and through recent streaming, how do we make certain that your generation understands its extraordinary power to not only win this election, but as Jerry pointed out, save democracy in the process?
Sure. I think, like you said earlier, like we don't have to convince the folks that are like-minded like us to vote for Kamala. We have to use our influence to convince those with a different opinion to vote for Kamala. And when doing so, we have to make sure that we are not making people feel wrong. We have to actively listen to their perspective and then share the facts of how a Kamala administration would benefit them by asking questions in a way that matters to them. Like for me, like I'd ask, like, do you believe that you should be allowed health insurance if you have a pre-existing condition? Or do you believe that prescriptions are too expensive when some people have to choose between either food or taking life-saving medication? Or do you believe that working families should have only one job instead of 2 or 3? And if you believe these things, then Kamala's plan is for that. And Trump's Project 2025 is against all of that. I mean, it's been said several times, it's really imperative for us to convince people to vote down ballot Democrat for the House and Senate, because Kamala needs them both to sign bills into law and not have her hands tied with blocking bills. And I think too, with our generation and with, public school funding, civics isn't taught like it should be on how the government actually works. And people don't know about the 270 electoral college votes, that a candidate needs. And that they can literally have like the popular vote and still lose the election because of the lack of electoral college votes. And I just want to encourage people to continue to do their research. Don't take anyone's word for it. We have the resources.
Thank you. But take our word for it. We're right. No one
Yes.
else. We are right.
For sure.
Barry is right. No matter what color state you're in, if you are in the United States, check.
Yes.
And Ashley is right. Verify your information. Do not take someone else's word for it, except for the women you see on the screen. One of those women who I think is doing an amazing job of helping young people understand what's possible, although she's here in her individual capacity, is Heidi Roddenberry. Heidi, how do we win this election? What do we need to do? Give us instructions.
Oh gosh, thank you, Stacey, and all the amazing women here. What many people might not know about me is I wasn't born in the US. I'm an American birth abroad, let's be clear. Yet I've had the experience of what it's like living and going to school in different countries and cultures. And there's nothing like being in the United States. When I got here, the 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 feeling that we each can be someone and contribute and thrive in this country is incredible. Part of what makes that incredible is our democracy. We each have a voice. And voting is literally the opportunity that you have to make your voice known in how to shape that democracy. And I would go even further to say, find out who are your elected officials in your neighborhood. Because if you don't make your voice known to them about what's important to you, guess what? The status quo remains, or they're going to do the decision making of what they think is best for you. Now, I'm not willing to let the future be up to somebody else. That is why I am supporting Kamala, because I believe that not only is she listening and putting together visions and policies of how to best support our democracy and the people of our country, that's how we're going to do it. You've got to make your voice known. You've got to go get your ballot and go all the way down, right? You need to know what's affecting your community and make a choice. And the vote is the strongest choice that you can make. So that is what I would love to offer to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. I will echo that by saying that I served as a state legislator for 11 years. And one day, one of my neighbors who used to ask me all kinds of questions went to go and vote in the primary and came back and she said, "You're my state legislator." I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "How did you not?" She's like, "I'm like, you've been asking me questions for years." She's like, I just thought you knew a lot." So I appreciated her vote of confidence. But what I want to emphasize from that is that it's the person next door, the person in your neighborhood, not just the person you send to Congress, but the person you send to the school board, as Ashley pointed out, the person who's in charge of the election rolls, as Jerry pointed out, the person who makes the decision about how lines are drawn and how monies are allocated. Those are the folks that we need to know to go all the way down the ballot. And one of the ways we can get this done and make certain that President Kamala Harris has everything she needs is by making sure you vote. Lisa, tell us why you're going to make it happen this time.
Well, first of all, again, thank you. Listening to all you guys has educated me so much. That story that Jerry, that you just told, I had no idea that that was even something that was possible. I grew up in the great state of Michigan, right here in Wayne County. And I've been working with a group that uses some celebrities like these ladies and quasi-celebrities like myself to get the vote out, again, down the ticket to some of the down ballot candidates. I was working for candidate My Song in District 13 in Michigan. And it is just, it is, as the ladies, I want to not repeat too much what they've said, but getting those votes out, that's reproductive rights, that's healthcare, that's funding for your schools, that's the things that affect your day-to-day life so much. Again, it's sort of ridiculous to me, as you've said, that we're actually having this conversation like, I wonder which one, but between Kamala and Trump, it seems surreal that we're having that conversation. But as 23 years ago, when they fit me into my yellow Starfleet suit, I was a 3-month pregnant single woman with my son, who's now a college graduate. But I got to make that choice. And it brings tears to my eyes to think that we might be living in a country where my 9-year-old daughter might not get to make that choice for herself because some man is making it for her. That is absolutely, would have been unthinkable in this lifetime. I'm doing different kinds of things, working with some groups here. I think probably wherever you live in this country, there's probably a group that you could get involved with. I'm working with one called the Next 50 that goes through Vote Forward and hosting a party, whatever you want to call it. People come together and do handwritten letters that show up, little things, because I know I have been guilty of showing up at the poll in the past and going like, oh my God, who are all these people? I don't know. And it's a terrible feeling. I will never be guilty of that again. I will educate myself before I get into the poll so I know who I'm voting for. And sometimes all it takes, because so many people don't, all it takes is they're opening up a letter and they're like, oh, Joe Flabats. I never thought of that. But when they're in that in that booth, it might trigger something. Those are little things, and granted, little things, but and some of those down ballot elections, it's won and lost by hundreds of, not thousands and millions, but such a small amount. So every vote counts in some of those down ballot elections. So every little thing that we can do, and I'm sure that if you look in your own community, there are ways that you can get involved, phone banks, knocking, writing letters, and to just take this as your time. If there was ever an election that you were going to be part of, this is the one. Because as Jerry very, very clearly said, this could be, we all saw what happened, that guy in the Chewbacca pants and the buffalo hat, like that could all be coming back, and it's scary. So you've got to get out there and vote.
Thank you. Dawn, you bring us home. Talk to us about why this election is transformative and how we save democracy.
Again, I salute each and every one of you who are here. I salute all of the people who are watching this panel, who are interested in diversity, who are interested in excellence, who are interested in the lore of what the Star Trek reality is. It's about diversity. It's about inclusion. It's about recognizing the excellence in everyone that comes to the table, regardless of your gender, your culture, what universe, what galaxy you are from, whether or not you have a cloaking device, you are here, and we need to acknowledge you. The fact is that our country was founded to benefit a very small handful of people on the backs of everybody else that came here from every other country, every other culture, every other religious background. It is systemically set up for the success of a few at the expense of the majority. And when you say majority in this country, it refers to power. It does not refer to physical human bodies. So the physical human bodies that were sacrificed generation after generation for the right to read, for the right to live, for the right to have transport, for the right to vote. And we're not talking about hundreds of years ago. We're talking about decades ago, where people of color from a variety of colors and peoples on this continent were not allowed to vote. You were physically attacked. You were economically sabotaged because they did not want you to vote. Women just got the right to vote, not hundreds of years ago. We're talking literal decades ago. The fact that there are people who say my vote doesn't count, or I'm not going to vote because I don't like whomever, does those lives a disservice. You do a disservice to people who sacrifice so much in order for us to have that right. Don't take it for granted. It is not your prerogative to take it for granted. Make a choice. And the choice that we need to make depends on your heart, your personal character. Who speaks to your heart in this election? Who speaks to your character? Who speaks to your future? Who speaks to empowering you and what your legacy is and what you and your people and those who look like you fought for and sacrificed in order for this country to be able to have the power to give off the illusion of democracy and inclusiveness? Because right now we're talking about an illusion, because there's a lot of people out there who want the illusion to persevere while the reality sucks. They want to erase so much that is real about this country, and not all of what is real is pretty. Okay, fine. Where do we go from here? The candidates that we are choosing between now have told us very, very clearly, not just in their campaign speeches, but who they've been in life, who they say they will be when they are put in power, who they have been outside of this most powerful seat on the planet. They have already told you, believe them. When somebody tells you they want to position themselves so that they will never be removed, so that they can eliminate their enemies and whoever doesn't agree with them violently and completely, who says that I am going to tell you who you are, where you can go and what you can be and when you can be it, as opposed to the person who says, I see you, I am one of you, I want to empower you, Please vote for me so that I can make sure you retain those opportunities and those rights. The question for everyone who's watching and everyone who is voting is, what kind of person are you? What do you want to support? What do you believe in? What have you been listening to? And do you care enough about yourself to know the truth about what is being presented to you? You've got to check the facts. You've got to read for yourself. That the government, the secretaries of states of all of these states in our beautiful, amazing country take the time to explain every proposition, to explain every candidate, to give their records, to let you know this is who we are talking about. Don't let that booklet go to waste. It's a, I was just about to curse. I'm a curse. It's a big ass book. Read the book. Okay. Read the book, get the information, make your choices before you get to the ballot. So when you get to that box, it's like, okay, page 3, I'm ticking ding, 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 ding. Page 8, ding, 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 ding. Do your homework because it matters. You have to care about yourself and the success of this country enough to make it matter. Too many people have already sacrificed for us to take this lightly, know where we are, know who we are. And I know I love me, and I love the opportunities I've been blessed to have in this country, in my career, in my life, and my family. And I want anyone coming alongside me and behind me to have those same opportunities. So for me, the choice is clear, and I have a responsibility to participate in it. So many people wouldn't be so aggressively trying to silence your vote if your vote didn't matter. Your vote.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you all for watching. We're at $34,904.83.
All right.
The ladies of Picard and Voyager and Lower Decks and the family that started it all. Thank you so much for sharing your voices, your vision, and let's go verify, let's go vote, and let's go win.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Senator Booker. Thank you, everybody who's been here. Okay, so we have just heard the how of getting out the vote. Now, I want to introduce these amazing sisters, the Sci-Fi sisters, to talk to you about the power of fandom. That's each of you who is watching, and how to organize, and the strength of the Trek community to encourage others to action. So come on, Sci-Fi sisters, take it away.
Some of you may know me as Captain Catherine Janeway, who many years ago put a small dent in the glass ceiling culturally by becoming the first female captain of a starship. Well, now we have the chance to do the real thing with Kamala Harris as President of the United States.
In the end, I support Kamala not just for her policies, but because she has an instinctive empathy, an ability to understand and engage the other people, other countries. There are so many problems that require the whole world to solve: climate change, migration, economic equity, and strengthening our alliances.
She'll also fight to protect our planet and make sure that we have a world to give to our kids and our grandchildren, and protect it and take care of it.
Harris has also been an incredible climate champion throughout her career, and she believes in climate change. She doesn't think it's a hoax. Enough said.
Star Trek inspired me to believe that we can build a better future by working together and for caring for each other.
Kamala is looking to find common ground through our strengths.
A strength that does not diminish others, but a strength that stands for truth, that stands for accountability for your actions and your words, that speaks to responsibility.
That is why I'm voting for Kamala Harris, to represent us on the world stage, to end divisiveness, and to bring joy and unity to our country.
She is turning the page on toxicity and divisiveness. She's bringing joy, compassion, empathy, and hope back into this world.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey there. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm waiting for my introduction. I'm waiting for our introduction. Hey, everybody. We're the Sci-Fi Sisters, and we're here with our honorary sister, our captain, Dawn Lewis. Fully pipped.
Yes.
Fully
Hey.
pipped. Before we get started, everybody, we want to make sure that you all know that there's an issue with YouTube and our link to donate. So we're asking you to go to womenoftrek.co, womenoftrek.co, scroll down to the bottom of the page and you can donate there. The other thing that you can do is copy and paste the donation link in the description. And you can donate that way as well. So just wanted to get that out. But today we're talking about the how-tos of voting and how to build a voter community. And we are super excited and thrilled and honored to be here in this esteemed company and with our captain. We're so stoked. So the first step on everybody's voting journey is to register to vote, right? Or to check your voter registration. And vote.org is your one-stop shop to do both of those things. So we want to make sure that people know that vote.org is available. But we also strongly recommend that people check with your state board of elections to find out about voting, the rules that regulate your voting in your state, because there's a lot of specifics that go on for each state that are different. And it's important to check your voting registration status before you go to vote, because you don't want to go into the polls and find out that something's wonky when you get there. You don't want to wait. And particularly if you haven't voted in a long time. Check your voter registration status early and often. There are easy things like if you move and change your address and forget to change your voting precinct, there's human error, these things can mess up your voter registration status. So check early, check often, and I'm going to hand it over to Fran, who's going to talk to you about early voting.
Can I just say one thing real
Yes, I was about to say, unless of course my captain has something to add.
I wanted to recommend, in addition to what you were saying, is that don't wait. Don't put it off. Yes, the election is in the first couple of days of November, but there is a deadline for you to register to vote. So don't say, oh, I'll get to it in mid-October or whatever it is, because for a majority of our states, voter registration closes during the first week of October. Some of them go to the second week. There's a very small handful that goes to the third week and maybe into the first couple of days of November. So if you haven't checked, do check, do it now. Do it now. What's today? Today's Thursday. Do it now. Friday is October 4th. Monday is October 7th. By October 8th, you may be too late. So
Y'all heard your captain.
Do it now. Do it now. That's an order.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sit
Go
up
ahead,
straight.
Fred. What you got?
Okay, I want to talk about early voting, and I think Tamia and Dawn covered the best reasons, because if you go to early vote, and you can clear up any problems if there are any. Your registration, you may be in a different district. If you do early voting, you find out these problems in the beginning. Also, you can get the vote out of the way so that you can clear up yourself for other political activity. There are only 2 states in the country that does not allow early voting, and that's Mississippi and Alabama. And I'm talking about in-person voting. I'm not talking about by mail or anything. That's coming up a little later. Please check with if you go to early vote, please check with your registrar's office where it actually is, the dates, because the dates for so many states are different. Here in Virginia, it started on September the 20th. I think in 2 other states, it's like you can vote like the 30th of October. The early voting starts like at the bare end of October. So please check when you can go and early vote. If you go early voting, then you will clear all this stuff off. You won't have to worry about not being able to vote. And also you can check, because some states have satellite offices you can do. Some states you can only do it at the registrar's office. So this is really important if you go in person early voting to find out, because here in Virginia, for early voting, you can only do it in the registrar's office, but that's only Virginia. And one last thing, I would advise wherever you go vote, take a valid government or state issued ID with you. All states don't require ID, but some states may. Well, we do in Virginia, but please take that valid government or state issue ID with you. So that won't be a hurdle, because you know they're using that for a hurdle for people to get over. So you can eliminate that hurdle. Just take, what it costs. Just go out and get an ID, whatever. You can get one. So please don't let that get a hurdle. Don't let that be a hurdle for you to vote. Your vote is so important. And now, Sister Yvette will enlighten you on the absentee vote by mail info. Take it away, sis.
Thank you, Fran. Absentee voting and vote by mail enables early voting for both the primary and general elections. The differences are absentee voting often requires a request for a ballot for each election. Vote by mail programs automatically send ballots to all registered voters before Election Day. How do you vote absentee or by mail if you live in the United States? Your state may require you to have a valid excuse to vote absentee. Most include being unable to go to your polling place due to illness, injury, or a disability, being on business travel or vacation outside the country or city of residence on Election Day. You may even be a student at an out-of-state college or university. And please note, absentee ballot absentee ballot applications must be received by the deadline, and not postmarked by the deadline. Remember, the postmark, it has to be at the place before, not the postmark.
Yeah.
Right. It can't be. Check vote.org under ballot deadlines for more information. That way I didn't screw you up. If you've moved, update your voter registration with your new address before requesting an absentee or vote by mail ballot. Some states require a new voter registration form, while others allow you to notify the election office by mail or online. Check with your state election board for specific instructions. How to vote absentee if you're in the military or outside of the U.S. Military members and their families stationed outside the U.S. and U.S. citizens abroad who previously lived in the U.S. can vote absentee. U.S. citizens born abroad without U.S. residency may have voting restrictions. Check the state, and this is important, check the state rules for where your parent or legal guardian last resided. Military members and their families or U.S. citizens abroad can register to vote, register an absentee ballot via the federal postcard application. You can find this online at federalvotingassistanceprogram.gov. If you've received an absentee or a vote by mail ballot, but choose to vote in person on Election Day, check with your state election board for the specific procedures. If challenged at the polling place, Sister Sabrina, she's going to tell you what you need to do if you're challenged at the polling place in any situation. Sabrina?
But before Sabrina, I'm sorry, I want to check with our captain, make sure our captain doesn't have anything to add.
No, I'm good, because you started to touch on it with students, because we've got a lot of young people watching now who are in college, who are away from home. They born and raised in Texas, but they're at an HBCU in Georgia. So there are ways. Sometimes you are able to vote where you are. You don't have to miss school. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to get all the way back to your home state.
Yeah.
You need to check your local registrar's office and let them know, I am a student in this. This is where I am. How do I vote where I am? Some people do play it safe and they take it back to their hometown and they vote where they are born or where they were registered. But if you are a new voter, if this is your first election,
Yep.
If you just turned 18, 19 years old and
You
you
can
are
vote
on
there. Yep.
campus, you can vote where you are.
While
Make
you're
sure
at
you
school, yeah.
register where you are right at school. Your vote matters. Please don't think you are too young. If you are of age
Yeah.
and you're a responsible young person, we need to hear your voice. We need to get your vote. So don't think it doesn't matter, because it does. Because this election, believe it or not, truly is about you.
Oh yeah.
It
Oh
really,
yeah.
because
Oh,
you're about to get into the real world.
Woo,
That's
child.
only you. So you want to make sure that the table is set for your success. You are working too hard these 4 years in school. For some of you, it's 5. For some of y'all, it's 6. It's all but you're working
No, you
too
didn't
hard.
shout them out.
Come on, you're putting in the work, and when you put the right person in office, they are going to do exactly what they said they would do about making your student loans and your student debt minimal. That's what we're talking about. Okay. There you go.
Okay, so it's election day and you make it to the polls and you've all registered, but for some reason, your registration is challenged. Don't panic. Federal law mandates that the polling person has to give you a provisional ballot and a receipt. So you may have to step over to the side and do a couple of things in order to sign and cast a provisional ballot, but you can do it. Now, you're not done. Whatever was deficient with the regular registration for the regular ballot has to be corrected to make the provisional ballot eligible. So you may have to come back that same night with proper ID if you're in one of the 32 states that requires a voter ID of some kind, which Fran mentioned. So you may go back that night, give them the ID, they'll put your ballot in. But sometimes it may be something that has to be corrected after the polls close, and you may have to go to your election board to give them the information that was deficient when you showed up for the ballot, especially people who asked for an absentee and then didn't use it, and you showed up at the poll instead. So if you're just willy-nilly asking for absentee ballots, you might be in trouble. But remember, know what your deficiency is, know how to correct it, and know when it has to be corrected by. That will make your provisional ballot eligible to be counted. Now, they gave you that receipt, right? Do not toss it in the car. Don't put it in your purse. Don't leave it on your messy desk. You need that receipt to track and make sure that your provisional ballot has been counted. So once you do all of those steps, you too have voted in this election. So Tamia, what else can we do for Election Day?
Well, we're here to help also build an active voter community. That's one of the reasons why we're so excited to participate in this event, this particular event tonight. We want to fundraise. We want to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States, but we need an active community around us to do that. We need a mobilized base. So building an active voting community is easy to do. It's critical and it's easy. It's sort of each one teach one, each one bring one, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Here's some simple ways. The first simple way is use your social media platforms that we're all on obsessively most of the time, right? Put on there, put the link to voter registration or to vote.org. See if you can get 5 of your friends who are not registered to vote to register. If you have 5 friends who aren't registered, it doesn't even take 5. See if you can get 2, to register. Challenge them, put it on your socials, challenge them to put it on their socials and see who they can bring along to get registered to vote. You can also do something as simple, and this is really helpful, like if you have a car, you can volunteer to drive people to the polls for early voting and for on election day. This is critical. We have a lot of people who cannot drive for one reason or the other. A lot of elderly people are still with us and they want to vote, and they are of their faculties, they just can't drive. So getting them is crucial, getting them out to the polls and getting others out to the polls who may not have a ride is really important. And then there's fun things that you can do. And I got this, I don't take credit for this idea. I got this from John Billingsley. He's like, you can have a really cool voter registration cocktail party or cookout or coffee clatch, even for those of us who aren't drinking the cocktails, but we could do a mocktail party, you know? I mean, like, so you can invite a bunch of people over and you can have on the computers or laptops or QR codes or on your phone, take them to vote.org right there, right easy, make sure they're registered to vote. And the thing about it is that if we have a mobilized base, we will have an energized base and we will have a strong base. And that base is what's going to take us through and elect a Harris-Walz ticket. And this is what we want. So we need to be energized and we need to pass it on to all of our friends to do this, and let's get going. Because if our base is strong, we're strong. And we can get over the hump.
I want to applaud everybody who's giving. Our numbers are going up. We're at 43,500.
Yes.
I want to make a challenge. Can we get that to even 50? Can we get
50? You want to get it 50?
50. That's 5-0 for all the rest of the folks.
5-0 with a whole bunch of zeros after. 5-0, a whole bunch of zeros after. And what I also was told that in most states, if you bring a senior citizen with you, they don't want our senior I know some of you are deterred because you think lines are too long. This is going to take too long. Says, you know what? You scoop up yourself a handful of senior citizens. You can do what? Go right to the front of the line.
To the front of the line.
That's what you had to tell Black folks.
Tip of the night.
They get to vote. You get to vote. And you say, Auntie, what do you need? I got a little stool. I got a little this for you to sit on. We're going to go up front. We're going to vote. And then you can take them right back home and you go back off your lunch break. And it's all good. It's not just you, but you help somebody else, like Tamia just said, to get an opportunity to vote who may not have been able to vote otherwise. And please understand, okay, everybody can get very emotional about the topics that we are voting for, the policies that we are voting for. We are not just voting for the president. The president needs support by the Congress and the Senate. So understand how government actually works. We have spent the last few years with the Republican Party boldly stating how they blocked bills, how they did filibusters, how they did everything in their power to make sure that the current administration was not successful in pushing things through. Mind you, these are the same people who today will raise their hand and boldly say, well, what did they do? They didn't get this, they didn't get that done. Okay, so which is it? Are you going to pat yourself on the back for being the reason they didn't get anything done? Or are you going to stand there and brazenly hold their feet to the fire for what they didn't get done? They didn't get done because of your foolishness. If they didn't have to deal with your foolishness, look at what they were able to do.
That's right.
There were countless measures that were able to be passed because they simply made sense. But the ones that were not passed, think about where we could be with our immigration status, with our NATO status, with our embargoes, with all of the things that we are dealing with now. Had we had the support, had we had a Congress and a Senate that was truly focused on the betterment of the American citizen, not just their political position and power.
Yep.
Think about that. Think about that when you are going to the polls. The president and vice president can only get but so much done if they don't have the support of the other legislative branches. So your vote makes a difference, not just this November, but the midterm elections, when you are talking about your judges and your local officials and your congressmen and your senators, it all makes a difference. So read the book, know who's who, look people up for yourself. Don't just get emotional and jump on somebody's bandwagon of what they believe. Understand, this is your opportunity. You want to talk loud? At least talk loud with facts and truth.
Yes. That's my captain. That's my captain. Well, there's so much to talk about, and there are a lot of places to find more information, including the Women of Trek website. It's been great having all of you guys here. Ladies, peace, love, and hair grease.
Peace, love, and hair grease.
Yes.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight. When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
When we fight.
We win.
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 We win. We win.
We win.
Make it so.
I wonder if my hands will fit again. That would be cool. All right. Woo. Woo. Ah! That's me.
When Michelle and I go out to lunch or dinner, we can never have a private conversation at the table because everybody in the world recognizes Michelle.
How are you?
You have so many fans.
Thank you so much. Hi, babe.
And everybody seems to universally admire her.
Right. You're very welcome.
I'm in love with Nichelle Nichols. She's a goddess to me, and she's a role model for me of how to treat people.
Hello, Bonnie Gordon here, and I'm playing the piano, which means I must have something important to say. Well, sing. So, listen up. It's voting time. Open up the polls and vote for bettering and changing the world. It's voting time. Register and cast your ballots, boys and bees and every girl. It's voting time with the Democratic Party, but Harris in the captain's chair. Voting time, believe in equal rights, climate change and affordable health care. Please vote blue and help our future grow. Please vote blue, don't vote for the Cheeto. Please vote blue, we all can make it so, and boldly go. Please vote.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hurd, and I'm so excited to be here to support and to vote for Kamala Harris as President of these United States.
I am proudly voting for Kamala Harris for president for a multitude of reasons.
Chancellor Laurel endorses Kamala Harris for President of the United States. Kapla!
Why am I supporting Kamala Harris? Oh, so many, many reasons.
There are countless reasons why I am 100% in on Kamala Harris.
So much is at stake, and that's why I am supporting Kamala Harris for president this year for countless reasons.
This is the most important election in our lifetime.
I believe our government can function better and more fairly for more people.
And that is why I am offering my support for Kamala Harris as president.
I can think of 1,000 reasons why I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
We are in what could undoubtedly be one of the most important election seasons of our generation and for generations to come. And to be honest with you, I am incredibly excited and incredibly nervous all at the same time.
I'm voting for democracy. I'm voting for equal rights. I'm voting for affordable health care. I'm voting for bettering the world. I'm voting for Harris.
The experience of putting together the report, the massive amount of work that she had put in, the massive, just sheer number of contacts and impressions, interviews and conversations that she had had over that 6-month period. But the report itself is this tremendous compilation of all of that data.
Hailing frequencies close. Signed, Project Manager. For NASA, our space program, and our future, I remain standing by, ready to receive.
While the precise reasons for the significant increases cannot be wholly attributed to the specific efforts of this contract, the massive media and informational effort directed at millions of people must certainly have been a factor in this exciting surge in minority and women's participation. Perhaps our efforts, or push towards a racially, culturally mixed space program, are not ours at all, but merely the pull of the ethnically balanced Star Trek universe that lies in our future.